the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda who are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. The delegation comprises of Mr. Mugabe John Bangonza, Director, Research Services, Ms. Shalon Atuhaire Mugabe, Assistant Director, Ms. Esther Sandy Namugoji, Research Officer. Honorable members, the officers are in the country on a benchmarking visit aimed at, among other things, understanding the research function as applied in the National Assembly of Kenya to support committee services and house business generally. On my behalf and on behalf of the National Assembly, I welcome them to Parliament and wish them a fruitful engagement during the course of their stay. Thank you. Honorable members, I also wish to recognize students on the voluntary service scheme. I wish to introduce to you a group of students from Starehe Boys Center and School who are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. The group of 3 students are in the National Assembly for a 2-week voluntary service scheme, a program that Starehe Boys Center and School has been running over the years during school holidays. The program ensures that students are given an opportunity to give back to the community through voluntary service during holidays. On my behalf and your behalf, I welcome them to Parliament. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. Approval of nominees to various national government constituency development fund committees.
Majority.
Here. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the vice chair of the committee, sorry, not majority leader. The Honorable Tandaza.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. That pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraphs 5(2) and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 4 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 8, 2022, as listed on the order paper. I request Honorable Majimbo Kalasinga to second.
Honorable Tandaza, you have not even said anything about your motion.
Well, this is more or less what we've been doing. These are the last constituency development committees, and for the sake of time, that is why I thought I would just have my...
All you are saying is that the motion speaks for itself.
Yes, exactly. We've done this before.
Who is your seconder?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the first place, before I second this one, in its record time, Mr. Speaker, this committee must be thanked.
You must second first before you say anything.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you. I second this motion. And as I second it, Mr. Speaker, the committee must be given accolade, Mr. Speaker. We must thank this committee for in a record time finishing all the constituencies in this short time, Mr. Speaker, because they know very well that in a few weeks to come, we are going to have funds in our constituencies, and we need this committee, Mr. Speaker, to run and give. Mr. Speaker, as we are at home today, we can see a lot of students suffering. So we need this one. Now thank the Speaker for the committee what have done well, and we shall prudently run this fund as required, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I second.
Honourable members, I propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraphs 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 4 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 8th, 2022. The list is appended to the motion, and members can read if they wish. I therefore put the question, honorable members, that pursuant to the provision of section 43(4) of the National Government Constituent Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraphs 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituent Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees of appointments to the following 4 constituencies as listed on the order paper. The constituent committees of the National Government Constituent Development Fund laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 8th, 2022. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, special motion, consideration of nominees for appointment as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation.
Chairperson, Committee on Finance and Planning.
Honorable Speaker, the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning undertook the approval hearings of 7 nominees for appointment as members of the Commission of Revenue Allocation. What is point of order?
Is it Molo?
Yes.
You move the motion by saying, I beg to move the following motion, and then read the motion as it is. Then make any comments, if at all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I stand guided. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following special motion on the consideration of nominees of appointments as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Mr. Speaker, that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation laid on the table of this House this morning of Thursday, the 8th of December 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 215 and 250 of the Constitution and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2021, that this House approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. 1, Mr. Benedict Mwasia Mutiso. 2, Mr. Wilfred Koitamet Olekina Njoshoi. 3, Mr. Jonas Mr. Vincent Kuko. 4, Dr. Isabel Nyambura Wayaki. 5, Ms. Hadija Ngani Juma. 6, Dr. George Jalango Midio. And 7, the Honorable Fatma Gedi Ali, CBS. Honorable Speaker, the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning undertook the approval hearings of the 7 nominees for appointment as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation pursuant to Article 215, 2B and C of the Constitution, and as communicated to this House by yourself, the Honorable Speaker, on Tuesday, the 29th of November 2022. Honorable Speaker, Article 215, 2B and C of the Constitution, as read together with Article 215.3, requires political parties represented in the National Assembly and the Senate to nominate 2 and 5 persons respectively for appointment as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation from among persons who are not members of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, Section 5(1) of the Commission on Revenue Allocation Act of number 16 of 2011 provides that the person to be a member of the Commission must bear the following qualifications. That 1, Mr. Speaker, the person must be a holder of a bachelor's degree or an equivalent profession from a recognized university. And number 2, that person must have financial and economic experience of at least 10 years for members of the Commission and 15 years for the position of the chairperson. And 3, that the person must have a distinguished career in their respective field. And Mr. Speaker, number 4, that the said persons must
adhere to Chapter 6 of the Constitution on matters of integrity. Honorable Speaker, the leadership of majority and minority parties in the Houses of Parliament on Saturday, the 26th of November 2022, notified the National Assembly of the nominations of the 7 nominees for appointments as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, the 26th of November 2022, the matters were referred to our committee, bearing their curriculum vitae and the names of the nominee. Honorable Speaker, in compliance with Article 118B of the Constitution, Section 6(4) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, number 33 of 2011, the Clerk of the National Assembly placed an advertisement on the print media on Saturday, 26 November 2022, informing the public of the nomination date, time, and place of the approval hearing in consideration of our Constitution on the requirement of public participation in all government appointments, Mr. Speaker. The public was admitted to submit memoranda, by the way, written submissions and affidavit on the suitability of the nominees in conformity with Section 6(9) of the Public Appointments Act. The memoranda, Mr. Speaker, were to be received on or before Friday, the 2nd of December 2022 by 5 p.m. Honorable Speaker, the nominees were cleared. All the nominees were cleared by the Kenya Revenue Authority, by EACC, by the Director of Criminal Investigation, by the Higher Education Loans Board, and the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. The committee undertook public hearings for the 7 nominees on Monday, the 5th of December 2022, from 9 a.m. moving all the way late to past 8 p.m. to listen to these nominees, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee receives 2 petitions or affidavits, one by Mr. Julius Cairo Kiambati and by Mr. Abbas Adam, contesting the suitability of one Honorable Fatima Gedi CBS. The committee, Mr. Speaker, considered the memoranda by Mr. Julius Cairo and Mr. Abbas Adam that were in the form of written statements contesting the suitability of Honorable Fatima Gedi Ali CBS. In the affidavit, Mr. Speaker, the petitioners deponed that, 1, the nominee was a member of a governing body of Jubilee Party, contrary to Article 77(2) of the Constitution. That 2, the nominee did not possess a university degree. And 3, the nominee did not possess the necessary 10 years experience on financial and economic matters as contained in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the committee considered the petition and observed the following. That 1, the nominee had indeed resigned as a national chairperson of Jubilee Party's Women's League, as indicated by a letter from the Registrar of Political Parties. And Mr. Speaker, this has been opined in the report as contained on our website, the Honorable Fatima Gedi's resignation letter, and a confirmation from the Registrar of Political Parties that indeed the Honorable Fatima Gedi had resigned as a chairperson of the Women's League of Jubilee Party. Number 2, regarding her qualification as per Section 6(1) of the Commission on Revenue Allocation Act, this committee was able to verify that indeed the Honorable Fatima Gedi holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree in Human Resource Management from Gretna University and awarded this degree in the year 2017. Mr. Speaker, concerning the question of on the experience on financial matters for more than 10, for the requirement to have experience in financial and economic matters for at least 10 years, the committee was able to establish that the Honorable Fatima Gedi served as a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee between 2017 and 2022, and as a chairperson, Departmental Committee on Delegated Registration during the same period. Mr. Speaker, in addition, the Honorable Fatima Gedi had served as an accounts assistant in various firms in various NGOs in this country, and we were able to ascertain that cumulatively, the Honorable Fatima Gedi had more than 10 years of experience in financial and economic matters, therefore fulfilling the requirements of the Constitution for appointment as a member of the Committee on the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Honorable Speaker, regarding Mr. Benedict Mwasia Mutiso, our second nominee, Mr. Benedict Mwasia Mutiso indeed holds a bachelor's degree in finance from Catholic University of Eastern Africa. He has had a very decorated career of more than 17 years, 10 of which were in public service, specifically working with the Kenya Revenue Authority as a compliance manager, Mr. Speaker. In addition, the person has been practicing as a consultant in several businesses, and therefore has more than 10 years of experience, financial experience in financial matters. Regarding, Mr. Speaker, the other candidates, the one, Dr. George Midiwo, Dr. George Midio, Mr. Speaker, has again a decorated career of being a medical doctor holding a master's degree in public health, has worked in management for the National Hospital Insurance Fund for more than 10 years, is an immediate former chief officer in Siaya County Government, and has worked in other hospitals, including Bagadi Hospital. Dr. George Midio holds a bachelor's degree from a university in Russia, and therefore fulfilling the requirements of holding a bachelor's degree and more than 10 years financial experience. Regarding Ms. Hadija Ngani Juma, Mr. Speaker, Ms. Hadija holds a bachelor's degree in sociology and IT from Maseno University. She holds a higher diploma in early childhood education from the University of Nairobi. And Mr. Speaker, Ms. Juma were able to establish has more than 12 years of experience, starting from when she was a clerk with the Ministry of Labor, Social Security and Services, which she saw the implementation of now the digitization of the social fund we pay to the old people, Mr. Speaker. We had a chance to listen to Dr. Isabel Nyambura Oyaki. Until now, Mr. Speaker, Dr. Isabel Nyambura Oyaki is a director with NGCDF board. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Nairobi. And it's important to note, Mr. Speaker, that this lady had honors in her economics degree, holds a doctorate in economics from the University of Nairobi, and Masters of Arts in Leadership and Governance from Pan-African East African University. Mr. Speaker, we're able to establish that Dr. Isabel Nyambura Oyaki has worked extensively in various government organizations, has done consultancy on matters of economics and finance, and has an accumulated accumulated experience of more than 11 years in policy related to health, planning, trade negotiations, and the economy. Mr. Speaker, we listened to Mr. Jonas Kuko. Mr. Speaker, this was a candidate who started their career from getting a certificate, going all the way to a diploma and earning a bachelor's degree in agriculture in farm technology from Egerton University. Mr. Kuko, Honorable Speaker, has worked as a principal for Chebororo Agriculture Training College and demonstrated to have used prudently the funds that were allocated to the institution, and winning 4 years in a row to be the principal of the year, Mr. Speaker. In addition, Mr. Kuko served in the Rural Electrification Authority as a board director, and therefore having accumulated financial and economic experience of around 15 years. Mr. Speaker, regarding Mr. Wilfred Koitamet Olekina, this, Mr. Speaker, was one of the people that led to the constitutional change in this country, having served as the chairperson of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, served again as a deputy coordinator for Crisis Response Center at the office of the former Prime Minister, has served on the board of Kenya Tourism Board, as an executive director of Maasai Education Discovery, and most recently as a board member for KIPRA. He holds an executive master's degree in policy, public policy and administration, and a bachelor's degree in philosophy and literature from Kenyatta University. Mr. Speaker, all the 7 nominees were therefore able to establish that they met the requirements of the Constitution in terms of their academic qualification, their academic performance, and pertaining to Chapter 6 of the Constitution, we were able to receive information from all the government agencies, including the DCI, EACC, and all those others, confirming their suitability to be commissioners with the Commission of Revenue Allocation. Mr. Speaker, it's very important to notice and to really thank the members who sat through the long meetings to make sure that we approved or we vetted these nominees. Because, Mr. Speaker, the current term of the current CRA commissioners ends on the 31st of December this year, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, this sitting was extremely important, and I really want to thank the honorable members of Finance and National Planning Committee for sitting through long hours and objectively vetting these commissioners for tabling this afternoon. And those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and ask the honorable Vice Chairperson, Parliamentary Committee of Finance and National Planning, CPA Ambassador Lagat to second. I move.
Danger, Lagat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this report. Mr. Speaker, I want to join my chair in thanking the members of Finance and National Planning Committee for the sitting we had on Monday. We had a very long sitting from 10 a.m. going through to 7:30 p.m., Mr. Speaker. So I want to say to the members, thank you very much. Secondly, I want to say, Mr. Speaker, in conducting this exercise, we were guided by the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Generally, and more specifically, Mr. Speaker, we were guided by the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of number 33 of 2011 and the CRA Act, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we subjected the nominees to the usual test, Mr. Speaker, which is recommended by the Parliamentary Approval Act number 33 of 2011. One of the tests was procedural test, Mr. Speaker. We sought to confirm whether the procedures were followed in their appointment, and all of them, Mr. Speaker, they passed the test. Number two, we subjected them to academic qualification test, which is recommended by the CRA Act, Mr. Speaker, and all of them, they qualified. Number three, Mr. Speaker, integrity test. All of them were cleared by our institution of integrity, Mr. Speaker, from EACC, KRA, CID, Mr. Speaker. Number four, Mr. Speaker, we subjected them to suitability test. Mr. Speaker, they appeared before us. We asked them different questions, and all of them, Mr. Speaker, in their own special ways, they presented themselves well. They showed that they know what they are going to do. They show that they know the mandate of CRA, Mr. Speaker, and therefore they passed the test, Mr. Speaker, all of them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having passed all those tests, our committee recommended them to this House for approval. And that is why we are asking this House to support the report, approve the nominees, and let us release them, Mr. Speaker, to go and start settling, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Commission on Revenue Allocation is a very important institution. I think I would say the climax of the 2010 Constitution lies around here, Mr. Speaker, because it is all about sharing of resources, Mr. Speaker, between the national government and the county government, Mr. Speaker. It is about allocating the shared resources among the 47 counties of our country, Mr. Speaker. So I want to say this is a very important institution. The commissioners are going to be performing a very important duty to our republic, Mr. Speaker. We are asking them to go and come up with a formula for sharing resources, Mr. Speaker, that is fair, that is acceptable to all the people of Kenya. I know we might not get 100%, Mr. Speaker, but they must be fair to ensure that everyone in Kenya, as per the mantra of CRA, Mr. Speaker, that no Kenyan should be left behind. Everyone must be taken care of across our counties, Mr. Speaker. So I want to ask the House to support the report. They are going to do a very important job. And Mr. Speaker, they promise to work with us as a House so that we achieve the objectives of this commission. Mr. Speaker, the functions of the commission are clearly set out in Article 216 of our Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And the main one being sharing of revenue between both vertical and horizontal, Mr. Speaker. Vertical in the sense that to share between national and county and among the counties, Mr. Speaker. So I want to ask the House to support the report, approve the nominees, release them to go and start settling and doing the job for this country, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, I second, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 8, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Articles 215 and 250 of the Constitution and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. 1, Mr. Benedict Mwasia Mutiso. 2, Mr. Wilfred Koitamet Olekina Ngoshoi. 3, Mr. Jonas Misto Vincent Kuko. 4, Dr. Isabel Nyambura Waiyaki. 5, Ms. Hadija Nganyi Juma. 6, Dr. George Jalango Midiwo. And 7, Honorable Fatuma Gedi Ali CBS. Let me hear the Honorable Wandai, then I put the question.
Honorable Speaker, I can understand and appreciate the mood because people are also in
Honorable members, you know, Honorable Wandai left here last time in a very foul mood, so allow him to speak today.
You may want to hear from me if the mood has since changed or not. Mr. Speaker, let me start by appreciating the fact that you are back here. Whilst I saw you in the morning on television, you had power to vote. You did vote this morning, Mr. Speaker, and that is really truly democratic and patriotic. Mr. Speaker, I've got very few words on this motion, or on this report. But from the outset, this is one such report that I will support. And I will support it on the basis of two things. One, my members in that committee, the minority members in that committee, who are very, very well experienced and able, have been able to convince me. You know, they are led by the veteran Honorable Adan Kainan and others. The Speaker, they have been able to convince me that the 7 nominees passed the test. But I can speak more authoritatively on the 3 nominees from our side, because I happen to know them at a personal level. And I believe the other 4 from the other side equally passed the test. Mr. Speaker, our 3 nominees, of course, are Koitamet Olekina, the Honorable, the indomitable Honorable Fatuma Gedi, and Dr. George Jalango Midiwo. Mr. Speaker, I have got no doubt whatsoever that these 3 persons, these 3 eminent Kenyans, these 3 patriotic Kenyans deserve the opportunity to serve in the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Not just because they are Kenyans who deserve so, but also because they have the capacity, which is proven, Mr. Speaker, from their record and history. I can hear people shouting, cousin, cousin. I don't know who is whose cousin, Mr. Speaker. You know, we are all cousins to one another, if you look at it. If you look at it from the point of view of anthropology, we are essentially cousins of one another. Mr. Speaker, these are Kenyans, including those other 4, who I believe are going to take CRA to the next level. And CRA is a commission with an onerous responsibility under the Constitution. Under the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, under Article 203, the issue on the allocation of these revenues between the 2 levels of government is so critical. And it is important that we don't have a vacuum. We all know that the term of service of the outgoing commissioners is coming to an end on the 31st of December this year. That's just some few days from now. And therefore, it is incumbent upon this House to ensure that no vacuum ever exists in the CRA. Because if it does, you will end up jeopardizing the very serious matter of allocation of revenues between the levels of government and also between the counties, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, without really much ado, I would really want to plead that we take the shortest possible time on this matter and approve these 7 nominees so that we can go to work. Thank you. Thank you.
Is it the wish of the House that we put the question?
I want to say something.
Who? Yes. I will allow Dr. Makali Mulu a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking the committee for the proposal to approve these names. Honorable Speaker, the CRA is actually a constitutional body. And when you look at the role of CRA, Honorable Speaker, it is supposed to advise on equitable sharing of resources, more so the so-called vertical sharing between the national government and the county governments. And then after the vertical sharing, Honorable Speaker, they have the mandate to go down there at the county levels and ensure that now the sharing between the counties is also done scientifically, and at the same time, Honorable Speaker, advise on how to raise revenue at that level. Honorable Speaker, I want to say this. As a House, Honorable Speaker, we have been using CRA reports to debate our Division of Revenue Bill. And my experience, Honorable Speaker, is that this particular commission, Honorable Speaker, we have been facing challenges with their reports. And more so because when it comes to sharing revenue, Honorable Speaker, at times we have allowed politics to take the front row. What am I saying, Honorable Speaker? The reason why you see it is very specific that the people who are going to join this commission must be at least bachelor degree holders, Honorable Speaker, is because whatever they do is supposed to be informed by research. So that whatever information they pass to us as an assembly, Honorable Speaker, whatever information they pass to Treasury in terms of advisory role, whatever information they pass to Senate, Honorable Speaker, is informed by research. But what has happened, Honorable Speaker, is despite that work being done by the commissioners, at times we have gone for what we call IBEC. And at the level of IBEC, Honorable Speaker, then the figures they propose are normally moderated to accommodate political interests so that we don't release what is expected to be released. And Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Chepkonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Would I be in order to request you in accordance with Standing Order number 95 to call the mover to reply? What the Honorable Makali is saying, my very good friend, is just repeated what the chair said, which is obvious. We know these people need to be passed very quickly. We'll put the question, Mr. Speaker, the mover to reply.
Honorable members, there's a proposal that I call the mover to reply, and I'll put the question that the mover be called upon to reply. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover. Honorable
Makali move, you can't be on a
yes, Honorable Makali.
You can't finish now.
So
Tumesema sema mover to reply.
Honorable Makali.
Just relax, you'll be given an opportunity.
He's out of order.
Honorable Makali, I have put the question, the mover to reply. You may take your seat. Mover. Take your seat. Take your seat.
Reply.
Honorable Makali, take your seat. Give the mover the mic. Yes, Honorable Makali.
The question has been put. You can't be on.
Mover.
This is Mike. This is Mike. Mover, come here. Mover, come here.
Secretary.
Give the mic to the mover. Honorable Makali, take your seat. Your persistence is misconduct.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Makali, take your seat.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to even start by thanking Honorable Makali Mulu and really implore on you to read the mood of this House. I want to thank the members for really burning the midnight oil to make it.
Let me hear the Honorable Makali. Yes, Honorable Makali.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for your indulgence. You know, Honorable Speaker, procedurally, and I really want to beg with you, if somebody raises on 95, Honorable Speaker, the person who is speaking should be allowed to conclude, and then we have the mover to reply. So, Honorable Speaker, I think I'm being fairly and treated because I have not finished my submission. Then the mover is being requested to reply while I'm still on the floor, Honorable Speaker, and you're giving me the chance.
Honorable Makali, order, honorable members. The member who moved for closure said that there was tedious repetition of issues in the motion, which I also found so. That's why I put the question. And the resolution on whether debate goes on or not is not for the Speaker, it's for the House. Mover, will you reply? The Speaker is not part of the debate in this House.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And again, I really want to thank the members of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. You sacrificed a lot of your time. We called you from your constituencies. We even had to write to our party leadership to excuse us from the PG that we were supposed to hold early in the week. We went up very late, and even, Mr. Speaker, some of the researchers that are visiting from Parliament of Uganda, when they attended our proceedings, they lauded us for having proceedings that were very objective, orderly, and in line with our standing orders and constitution. So thank you very much, and all the members of Parliament that have come to support this approval of these commissioners, so that by the time the expiry of the current commissioner is coming to an end, therefore we will have commissioners in place. And with that, I beg to reply.
All the honorable members, I now put the question on the special motion, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation, laid on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 8, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Articles 215 and 250 of the Constitution and Section 8 of Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. 1, Benedict Mwasia Mutiso. 2, Mr. Wilfred Koitamet Olekina Ngoshoi. 3, Mr. Jonas Misto Vincent Kuko. 4, Dr. Isabel Nyambura Wayaki. 5, Ms. Hadija Nganyi Juma. 6, Dr. George Jalango Midiwo. And 7, Honorable Fatuma Gedi Ali, CBS. Will as members of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. All the honorable members, will you be upstanding? All the honorable members, this special sitting is concluded.